Hey, it's Quayshawn here to talk about week 5 of discussion board. I'm here to talk about Finley O'Connor's and Harry Crew's video. I'm going to start with Finley O'Connor. The theme for her short story was religion. It was very interesting to read it, reread it, and to read the critical analysts of what they thought and how they interpreted it and everything. And it was also interesting to see how Finley O'Connor explained it. I'm not gonna say I understand her explanation of her short story, but I don't want to say I disagree, but I kind of got another understanding from it. And I guess all stories, of course the author has its theme in mind, but it comes across to somebody else a little bit differently. It was really interesting between the grandmother and the misfit, which was the main event to the whole thing. What really got me was, when they was going back and forth as Jesus, raised from the dead and everything, and then this old woman being religious and she said maybe he didn't rise from the dead. The old woman mumbled, not knowing what she was saying, feeling so dizzy. So I feel like, that was her last attempt to try to save her life. And she was feeling dizzy, she was feeling lost, she was feeling out of sorts. And then the misfit was just saying if he was there, basically, if he did see Jesus raised from the dead, he wouldn't be who he was, today, I guess, in that time. And he wouldn't be a misfit. And that brought some clarity. It's saying that he, I'm guessing, wanted to be a better person. It's just, it didn't work out that way. And the way his voice was high, he really believed if he was there, he would have been different. And that's the moment for the grandmother where, her mind cleared up. She, I guess in that moment, she saw in some way she could try to humanize him a little bit. And that's why, she made the gesture of saying, why you're one of my babies, you're one of my own children. She reached out. And in that moment, I feel like they had a connection. It was a connection. It was, he was feeling something she was trying to give, and in an instant he didn't want to receive it. And that's why he pulled back and shot her. But I feel like still, even though it ended horribly, they had a connection. It was something there. Something could have happened if the story was different. If he wasn't, I guess, so hooked on being a misfit for him, him feeling alone in the world in a way. And that's how I feel about that. And for the Harry Crews, and about the South, and from the video I got that, of course they're not perfect. They imperfect people, and the catalog that everybody used to have, they had to degrade them in a way. They had to bring them into their reality. They couldn't, like anyone else, just look at it and browse and move on. But no, they had to make stories. And that's what Harry Crews basically said, that stories were everything and everything was stories. That's how they live. That's how they thrive, of telling stories. And like just looking at the whole video and looking at it a couple of times, it's just everything had to be controversial, everything had to be problematic. They could not, it was nothing that could just be what it was without a problem. And it just seemed like, I said, stories was their end goal. It's just how they lived. And they even told stories from spitting birds to, when they cooked possums and they had to put the intestines and teeth and everything else in a hole in the ground. And he made a big thing on the eyes have to point down, so when it comes alive again, he said, which it will, they would not come find the rightful person that killed it. They will go down or to find a Chinese boy. And it was just interesting because I'm not from the South, so to see this and kind of living somewhat in the South is interesting. But it's just interesting to get this perspective, from them. And it was interesting that I also found that both of them was from Georgia, and they stories having a little in common with the violence and things like that. But yep, that's what I got, and hope you respond. Thank you.